So most exercise programs are going to be using what is called the double progression method, where we prescribe sets and reps in a range, and we progress the weight once the top end of the range is hit. So for an example, if it says barbell bench press, 3 sets of 5 to 10 reps, with 1 to 2 reps in reserve, we want to ideally be hitting near 10 before we are progressing the weight the following week. The biggest issue I see with people using this method is that they make it like a hard stop at the top end of the range, and they're only allowed to move the weight up if they're hitting the top end of the range for every single set. So for an example, if someone does 3 sets of bench press at 135 pounds, and the range is 5 to 10, and they do 10 reps the first set, 7 reps the next set, and then 5 reps the third set. So we only hit 10 reps on one set. So at that point, yes, it makes sense that you'd want to be continuing to try to progress reps on the next 2 sets the next week and leaving the weight the same. Totally cool. Person B, they hit 10 reps the first set, 9 reps the second set, 9 reps the third set. It's like, well, you hit that top end of the range and you almost hit it for the next 3 sets. So you should probably use that as your cue. Okay, we're operating at the top end of this range. We can progress the weight up. Or some might even go as far as doing 4 sets of 5 to 10 and they hit 10, 10, 10, 9. Like, all right, so if you're keeping it right at the same weight and you're staying at 10 reps, we can definitely push the weight up. But so basically my point here is, do not wait until you have hit the top end of the range for every single set to use that as a cue or permission to move the weight up. We just want to be progressing our reps and weight over the course of a training block. So you have some flexibility if you're following a program as to how you're going to do that. If you're hitting, the very bottom end and you're barely staying in the bottom end, that'd be your cue. Don't move the weight up. Don't move the weight up for the next set. If you're somewhere in the middle, so we use the first example, you hit 10 and then you hit 7 and then 5. You did hit 10 that first set. So if you were feeling strong the next time you hit this program or workout, you could absolutely do a small weight jump. Don't go up, if you're going bench to 135, don't go up to 150 or something, go up to 140 and then see how you feel. So again, the range is more of a guidance for how much weight you should be using. It's not a hard and fast thing you have to hit that top end of the range before you are given permission to move the weight up. That's not the point of this. The point is to dictate a general load to be using to be working in that range. You could also be changing the load a little bit between the sets. So maybe you hit 10, 7, 6. You move the weight up for the following week. You only hit 7 the first set. Well, that's in the middle, so you could continue to do sets at 7. Or if you felt like you were going to have a big performance drop the next set, you could take the weight down a little bit and continue to go. So when I'm writing programs for online clients, I'm obviously not there to see how the weight's moving, how their form looks. It's really kind of up to them. So I'm actually a big fan of using relatively larger rep ranges. So like the traditional 3 sets of 8 to 10, that only gives you a 2 rep or 3 rep leeway. So I like to move my ranges bigger from 8 to 12 or 5 to 10 or even as big as 10 to 20, because that allows us to be working within that rep range and kind of make decisions based on how we're feeling that day. Do we just not feel like doing high reps and doing 15 to 20 reps, and we'd rather do a little bit lower? That's fine. You'll probably be progressing some way or another week over week. Are your joints feeling a little bit achy, and higher reps would be a little bit more joint friendly, and that seems like the move today? Absolutely go higher on the range. So working within the rep range with the weights that allow you to hit that rep range are the point of the rep ranges themselves, and having this dual progression method. And then lastly, if we are doing like 5 to 10 reps and we are doing a 1 to 2 reps in reserve intensity, and we're doing our set and we get to our 10th rep and we know we still have like 4 reps in the tank, you do absolutely not need to just stop it at 10 reps because that's the top end of the range. Again, these are guidances. They are not hard and set parameters. So you could absolutely hit 12 or 13 reps that set. Now that would definitely be the cue for either moving the weight up for your next set, or if not, absolutely moving it up the next week, because now you're operating outside of that rep range. And the same thing goes if we start it within the rep range and they drop below the bottom end. So say we go 7, 5, 4. It doesn't mean the weight was too heavy. That means we're just more towards the lower end of the range, and we want to keep working at that weight and progressing the weight for the next week. Working in that, same weight, progressing the reps before we move up the weight. So again, think of the sets in the rep ranges as guidances for how heavy we should be training, not we have to beat, we have to hit the top end of the range every single set before we are given permission to move the weight up. On the flip side, if the reps do dip slightly below after we've already done a set or two within the range, that doesn't necessarily mean it's too heavy. It just means that we definitely don't want to move the weight up. And finally, if we are doing a set and we can continue to progress from the prior week's numbers, absolutely totally fine to go over the top end of the range, but then that is your green light to say, yes, next week we definitely need to move up because the weight was just a little bit too light the prior week, but we can still take it to near failure by going past the rep range, top end of the rep range.